I just wanted to start off by saying sorry this theory video was so delayed. I had to put my dog down this past week, but like an author on Wattpad, that won't stop me. So without further ado, I present to you the game that never was. Also, don't worry, you are allowed to laugh at that joke. Am I supposed to put like an actual intro here? What even would I say?
Hello and
no. Let me try again. Okay, stupid gimmicks aside, let's get into the theory. So before we get into what I suspect the storyline was supposed to be, let's take a look at why it changed in the first place. In mid-June, some of Scott Cawthon's previous actions were called into judgment, and regardless of your opinions on the situation, it went too far when Scott's family was doxxed/threatened. In an understandable turn of events, he decided to hand over the franchise and retire. This resulted in an awkward power shift occurring in the midst of Security Breach's production. With only 6 months left before the game's premature release, there was bound to be a little panic. The panic manifested itself in the form of Sony, who demanded the script be made more PG-13 and the game be released before Christmas, and thus the mad scramble began. But seeing as the shift only occurred in the last 6 months, that left plenty of evidence that allowed me to piece together what I suspect the storyline was meant to be. So what were the 3 biggest changes to the script? The game was supposed to be 5 nights long. We were supposed to see more of the Vanessa dynamic, and of course we were supposed to see more of everyone's favorite rabbit, Glitchtrap. Oh, you wanted more Bonnie? Don't worry, I'll be talking about him later. First off, on the evidence that the game was supposed to be 5 nights long, look no further than the title of the franchise. This is Five Nights at Freddy's after all. And yes, Ultimate Custom Night was only 1 night long, but that specifies it will only be 1 night long. As far as I'm aware, this game isn't called Security Breach 1 night only. On top of that, after escaping Freddy's room for the first time, the voice on the loudspeaker states that
Freddy and the gang are pretty tired, but they'll be back again next week after a few days of scheduled maintenance.
I don't know about you guys, but to me that feels like a clear setup for a multiple night game. Also, if you've ever explored the MegaPizzaPlex, you know there's a multitude of fully rendered areas we just never go into. Now, I don't know much about game development, but it seems mighty suspicious that they would put the time to render these areas that we don't even go in. Now, this may be a classic case of biting off more than they can chew, but I still thought it was worth mentioning. The other big thing I noticed that aids this theory is the pacing of the game. Every playthrough I watched was victim to the YouTuber complaining about how long the 5 AM and 6 AM hours felt. And comparatively to the first few hours, the last 2 are very task-heavy, almost as if they tried to shove several days of content into 2 hours. Next is the Vanessa transfer. It is teased heavily in the original trailers for the game, and it is implied that Vanessa was the eventual host for the Glitchtrap virus. As such, and because their evidence is so heavily intertwined, I will be talking about both of them at the same time. We hear Glitchtrap talking to someone in the second trailer for the game.
When I first found you, you were nothing. You were small, pathetic. But now, you are more. Are you ready?
That alone is enough to show that Glitch is manipulating someone, whether that be Vanessa or the player character, or more likely Vanny. It shows Glitch was at least supposed to make an appearance. This is further evidenced by Vanny in the first trailer seemingly pleading with Gregory by saying,
"Gregory, I may have lost my temper earlier, but it was just a glitch."
The "it was just a glitch" phrase is then repeated multiple times. You can hear from her voice that she's seemingly pretty concerned, a concern that carries over into an unused Vanessa voice line that can be found in the game files.
I don't know how to fix it. What am I going to do? If Freddy was working, we would have him by now. Okay, I didn't mean to. He walks through every security door as if he owns the place. No, I can find him. It won't be like the last one.
You can see in this voice line that Vanessa is clearly talking to someone, presumably Glitchtrap, based on the later part of the second trailer where a voice screams,
You will do as I say. You will bring me what I want. And if you fail me, then you will. Both of you burn!
A lot of people assumed the voice was Monty, but after the game's release, I suspect it's the same voice from the start of the trailer, just angry this time. It almost feels as though Glitch was meant to take on an Alice Angel type role, making us gather him parts so that he can put himself back together. After all, he is Afton, and therefore he always comes back. Also, further proof to aid this theory is in the Princess Quest ending of Security Breach. We free Vanessa from Glitchtrap's control. We can see that very clearly from the glitching in the game itself and the discarded Vanny mask, followed by the cutscene of them all peacefully eating ice cream with Freddy's decapitated head. Furthermore, in an email from Lewis to Ness, he talks about how one day she's researching the migration pattern of bees, and the next day she's looking up how far you can cut a human in half before they pass out. This shows the contrast between Vanessa and Vanny, and also that Vanessa is at least somewhat resisting being taken over by the Glitchtrap virus. So what does this mean for the original plot of the game? Well, I'm glad you asked past me, because here is the timeline of the game if it hadn't been changed last minute. In my opinion, this is just a theory. In FNAF 6, Henry gives a speech about how the animatronics can finally be free, and Afton will be going down to the deepest, darkest pits of hell.
And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still, and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, friend.
And in Ultimate Custom Night, we see the fulfilling of his speech. We see Afton and all the other animatronics in hell, or the Ultimate Custom Night, which is Afton's unique torture. However, as his key phrase tells us, he does always come back, and this comes to fruition in Help Wanted when Silver Parasol Games scans Springtrap's control panel, creating a glitch in the Help Wanted system that tries to infect the player character. It is later confirmed that this glitch, or glitch trap, is in fact some form of William Afton. The glitch trap, however, fails to escape via the player character and instead infects Vanessa. We see this in Special Delivery, where Lewis's email shows that Vanessa is buying fabric for presumably Vanny's costume. Vanessa is fired and the Special Delivery program is cancelled, which brings us straight to the start of Security Breach. And here's a play-by-play of how I think each night of the game would go. On night 1, I suspect that it was meant to be more mellow, with us breaking Freddy free from the room, then having our first interaction with Vanessa, after which we go to the daycare. That would explain why the Sun animatronic is seemingly peaceful, and Moon seems more upset that we are out after our bedtimes than he is intent to capture us for Glitch Trap. On night 2, it gets actually difficult, as tends to happen with FNAF games. We would go to Phaser Blaster and get a Phaser Blaster. You can get a Phaser Blaster, Phaser Blast, where we can potentially see Vanny's hideout. On the way out, we get jump scared by Vanessa, who would take us to the security office where we have to break free from Vanny. This offers a bit of the classic FNAF experience. We also see a brief moment of Vanessa glitching through the Vanny form. On night 3, the game would get even more difficult with us finally decommissioning Chica and hearing from the big bad evil guy Glitch Trap for the first time. This would follow with the FNAF 1 thing where we first learn of William potentially being in the Springlock suits in the back on the 3rd night. We would also likely witness Vanessa glitching out in front of us, allowing for her oh-so-repeated line, "It was just a glitch." On night 4, we would decommission a second animatronic, all while running from a very active Vanny, who would switch between pleading with us that it was an accident, and openly admitting she was hunting us. We see Vanessa for the last time as Glitch tells her to get Gregory, or us, or die. On night 5, we decommission the final animatronic and we get captured by Vanny, allowing her an evil villain speech before we somehow get tasked into running around the Pizzaplex to get security badges, all while dodging the decommissioned animatronic. Between night 5 and 6, we finally get the option to leave the Pizzaplex, and the game continues how it did in the actual game. Night 6 would involve a task in Bonnie Bowl, because why else would it be rendered in, before we learn that Glitch Trap has infested the Springtrap suit and we have to stop him. Of course, there was likely mini-scrap tasks and missions that would make this make more sense, but hey, it's just a game. A theory. And like all good theories, there's still a few questions that need to be answered. Question number 1. Why would Gregory come back each night? He doesn't. He just never leaves. Think about this for a moment. Why would the front doors of the MegaPizzaPlex open on a non-operational day? Speaking as someone who has worked at Six Flags, I assure you the front gates don't open on non-operational days because if they did, customers would try to enter through them despite the fact that we have closed signs up. That's why employees enter through back doors, so Gregory escaping through the front door on a non-operational day is extremely unlikely. Also, why would Gregory come back each night? Maybe for the exact same reason he decides to stay when he has the choice to escape. He is curious, and curiosity does tend to kill the cat. Or in this case, the Gregory. How did Afton come back? He didn't exactly come back. Like Henry Emily said in his speech, Afton is down suffering in hell. A version of Afton, however, was created by scanning Springtrap's control panel, creating the Glitch Trap virus, which then was able to reinfect the Springtrap suit, creating Afton. But there's a reason this version of Afton is able to hack into people like Vanessa and into Freddy's system versus Afton, who was only able to just like kind of awkwardly walk around. Where is Bonnie? This screenshot was provided by Super Horbros. I highly recommend their theory video. It'll be linked down in the description and in the card up in the corner. If I can put it in the card up in the corner. I don't know. Either way, it's going to be in the description down below. But his theory is pretty solid as far as I'm concerned. I agree with it on most fronts of that theory. But you see here this picture of an endo with bunny ears over it, assumedly Bonnie, and standing behind it is a figure that is also a bunny, but seems to have behavioral and like standing patterns similar to that of Vanny. So it's pretty easy to assume that Vanny is the reason Bonnie was decommissioned. And if you look in the corner of that exact same room, there is an endoskeleton that doesn't attack you. Unlike every other endoskeleton you find down in the warehouse, this endoskeleton is completely docile, meaning that it likely is the Bonnie that we no longer have. It's because after he glitches out on stage, he reboots in safe mode. It's the same reason he can attack us when getting upgrades and repairs. It's because the safety protocols in the tube are disabled, but they get turned back on as soon as the repair is done, meaning that's why Freddy can't attack us, or doesn't attack us. And the final question, who are Gregory and Vanessa? Next question. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please click like and subscribe. On a side note, I must have drank Fizzy Faz because there's so many theories I feel like my head's going to explode. And remember kids, that's just a game. A theory.